Okay, all our coaches are here now. Welcome, Gave Watt of the Jamaica Observer. We'll give him a few minutes just to get the names of the students on the relevant score sheets. So we have all our judges, and as you know, we will begin with Ardenne High. So Ardenne, please get ready.
Mr. Speaker, esteemed adjudicators, honorable colleagues, and my
Don't
fellow
start it. Don't start it. She'll tell you.
Hearing, go again.
Can you repeat that, please?
No, I said that Mr. Watt is with us now. And as you know, the match will begin with the proposing team. So just give us a second. All right, so gentlemen, you know what the rules are, right? The first minute are protected minutes, and there will be no badgering of the speakers. You are to stay in front of the camera at all time, and that also includes when you're preparing for your rebuttals. We have with us 3 judges this morning. We have Tafari Hilton, businessman, Malik Kelia, attorney at law, Gave Watt, digital manager at the Jamaica Observer. I will start in a few minutes, and we will begin with the proposing team. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second match in the quarterfinal rounds of the National Tourism Debate. Today we witness a clash of intellect as Ardenne faces off against Munro College. The motion reads, this House believes the government should reallocate monetary support to develop community tourism in order to drive growth within the tourism sector. Each team will present arguments in favor or against this motion, with a structured format ensuring a fair and engaging debate. We would like to thank our prize sponsors, Fontana Pharmacy, Moon Palace, Royalton Resorts, Pier 1, Wards Transportation, and the GHTA. Each team will present arguments in favor or against the motion. And as you are aware, the first speaker is allowed 7 minutes, second speaker 5 minutes, and the third speaker 3 minutes, followed by rebuttal. Let's meet our team. Ardenne High, we have Daktari Doman, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, Levon Brown and David Hamilton. Munro College, Joshua Howell, Otane Wright, and Jakeem Stewart. The coaches this morning, Coach Finley from Munro College and Javan Grant from Ardenne High. The competition will begin with the proposing team, Ardenne High. We welcome Ardenne High, and let's have a round of applause, please. Ardenne, you may begin.
Mr. Speaker, esteemed adjudicators, honorable colleagues, and my fellow Jamaicans. Today we gather in the nation's legislature to debate a motion of great national significance, one that speaks to the very foundation of our tourism sector and the future of sustainable economic growth. The motion before us calls for the government to reallocate monetary support to develop community tourism in order to drive growth within the tourism sector. Now, tourism is the lifeblood of our economy. It contributes significantly to employment, the gross domestic product due to its foreign exchange inflows, and overall development, as it contributes 30% of the country's GDP and 1/3 of our jobs, according to the World Bank. Yet, the benefits have not been equitably distributed. Now, community tourism, which allows locals to actively participate in and profit from the industry, has long been undervalued and underfunded. Instead, the lion's share of resources continue to flow into mainstream tourism, dominated by large foreign-owned resorts and corporations. But as usual, the opposition would rather fund the few and forget the many by choosing corporate checks over community change every time. And as my friend Wally British over TikTok would say, red flag, one must know a red flag when one see it. Mr. Speaker, this government understands that the role of any responsible administration is not just to facilitate economic expansion, but to ensure that prosperity is shared among all citizens. As such, we put forward a bold and necessary plan to reallocate resources towards community tourism to strengthen small businesses, empower local entrepreneurs, and showcase the authentic Jamaican experience that the world is eager to embrace. And before our colleagues on the opposition cry foul, let me be clear. This is not an abandonment of traditional tourism, but an investment in an underutilized yet powerful pillar of our economic strategy. Unlike the opposition, who will no doubt attempt to paint this as reckless or impractical, this government believes in solutions, not scare tactics. We believe in taking decisive action, not sitting idly by while communities are left behind. Now, before the side opposite jumps up with their usual panic and paranoia, let us define the terms clearly, precisely, and decisively. Now, community tourism refers to a sustainable tourism model in which local communities are active participants in ownership, management, and benefit sharing within the sector. It is not a side business, it's not a charity case or some small-scale fringe initiative. Instead, it is a structured and economically viable approach that integrates locals into the very fabric of the industry, where they are not just workers, but stakeholders, investors, and profit earners. But of course, Mr. Speaker, the opposition, ever the champions of maintaining the status quo, seems to be suffering from a severe case of COVID, chronic opposition to viable and inclusive development. But then again, some of them may be asymptomatic, so clueless that they don't realize, as usual, that they're infected with the same backward thinking that keeps Jamaica from moving forward, because they will try to convince us that only the big players in the tourism industry deserve investment. Because in the opposition's world, community-driven success is apparently too much to handle. Now, reallocating this debate means strategically redistributing a portion of government funding and resources, not removing, not gutting, not eliminating, but adjusting the financial focus to ensure a more equitable distribution. We are not here to kill traditional tourism. We are here to enhance, diversify, and strengthen tourism by ensuring that its gains are no longer locked away in corporate bank accounts while rural communities struggle. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, the social impact of this cannot be overstated, as community tourism empowers local communities by allowing them to control their own cultural narrative and benefit economically, whereas mass tourism often commercializes and exploits cultural traditions for foreign profit. Now, in Dominica, the Kalinago people, otherwise known as the Caribs, have successfully established a community-based tourism that preserves their heritage while driving economic growth. Now, the government of Dominica, through projects like strengthening community resilience within the Kalinago territory, which was partnered with the United Nations Development Program, has invested significantly in community tourism. We look towards November 2024, where a contract was signed to restore the administrative building at the Kalinago Barano Aute, further strengthening sustainable tourism in the area. We look in December 2024, where the Dominican government launched a $1 million US dollars project to boost ecotourism alongside sustainable agriculture and watershed management. And these, of course, are coming from the Caribbean United Nations as well as Caribbean News Now. Now think of Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee, one of the most sought after coffees in the world. But what happens when other countries try to brand their own coffee as Jamaica Blue Mountain, when it's not the real thing? Same thing for Jamaican black castor oil. You see the knockoffs everywhere, but they lack the quality and the authenticity of the original produced by Jamaicans using traditional methods. That's exactly what mass tourism does to our culture. Foreign-owned resorts package a watered-down, tourist-friendly version of Jamaica, selling authentic reggae nights and jerk chicken buffets, while the real culture, the real people, are kept out of the picture. Community tourism, however, puts Jamaica back in control, and it ensures that what visitors experience is the real deal. Charlestown Maroons telling their own stories, Rastafarians sharing their own traditions in Nyambingi and reaping the benefits. Now, Dominica is 15 times smaller than Jamaica, yet they've mastered community tourism, and it boosted their economy, and it preserved their culture. So the question is, if they can do it, why can't we? The problem isn't resources, it's what we prioritize. The opposition clings to mass tourism like it's our only option, but that's just lazy. If Dominica can make it work with fewer resources, what's Jamaica's excuse? It's time to fund tourism that empowers our people, not sidelines them. Then, Mr. Speaker, we talk about the fringe forms of tourism that the side opposite will surely want to prop up. Now, the current government, that is the Andrew Holness administration with Minister of Tourism Ed Bartlett, has proposed a plan to promote dark tourism, which is a misguided investment that not only fails to capitalize on Jamaica's strengths, but also alienates local stakeholders. And instead of pouring resources into a niche and controversial form of tourism, funds should be reallocated to develop community tourism, which has proven economic and cultural value. Now, the local tourism sector itself has raised serious concerns about dark tourism. Architect and historic preservationist Dr. Patricia Green in Radio Jamaica News strongly opposed the idea, warning that it attracts individuals interested in boring and occult practices rather than genuine cultural appreciation. She questions, do we want that kind of invasion in Jamaica? However, even the government admits that dark tourism is not intended to be a huge driver of tourists to Jamaica. So why invest in it at all? Instead of funding an initiative steeped in controversy, we should focus on what community-driven tourism, like the Blue and Drunker Mountains, Ecotourism Project, and the Maroon Heritage Experiences. Because these initiatives uplift communities, preserve Jamaica's rich culture, and keep tourism revenue in local hands. Now, the push for dark tourism is not demand-driven, and the reparations funding being sought for this initiative could better be spent on restoring heritage sites through community engagement. Now think of dark tourism like a trauma dump. TikTok videos where people overshare painful experiences for clothes. Sure, it gets views, but does it actually help anyone? No, it turns real suffering into entertainment. Jamaica does not need to trauma dump our history for tourists. Instead, we should be like the creators who showcase their music, showcase their culture, showcase their food, showcase their traditions, gaining millions of views while keeping their identity intact. Because community tourism lets us control our own narrative, not just for the clicks, but for the real impact. Now, the current government is entertaining dark tourism, which I have already said is a controversial gamble. While proven community-driven tourism is left begging. Now, maybe the opposition today agrees. That is side opposition in this debate. Maybe they think this is a risk worth taking. Maybe they believe Jamaica's story is best sold in suffering rather than success. Well, to that I say, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. And if you can't take blows, brother, don't throw blows. So tell me, will the opposition stand with Jamaica's communities? Or will they defend pouring resources into a market that even the experts reject? Mr. Speaker and my fellow Jamaicans, this progressive government is here to ensure that tourism and your tourism dollars works for Jamaicans, as we believe in a Jamaica first policy, a Jamaica first agenda. But once again, the opposition is showing clear symptoms of COVID, chronic opposition to viable and inclusive development. Every time progress knocks them catch fever. Every time we push for innovation, them start cough and sneeze. Every time we present a real solution to empower Jamaicans, them run go lie down like them catch flu. Red flag. And you must know why red flag when you see it. Because the opposition wants to pretend like everything is fine while tourism dollars leave our shores and communities are left behind. They will talk about how the current model is working. But working for who? Let's be clear, we are not here to tear down traditional tourism. We know its value. But we also know Jamaica is more than all-inclusive hotels. And the real question is, why isn't more being done to make sure tourism benefits the people who bring culture to our life? While the opposition sticks to the same old playbook, we are saying put the money where it makes sense. Fund community-driven tourism, initiatives like the Maroon Heritage Experience and the Blue and Jonker Mountains Ecotourism Project, which keep tourism revenue in local hands and showcase Jamaica's true spirit. The opposition might try to shift the conversation. They might try to downplay the issue or act like this government is attacking the tourism sector. Lies. We are strengthening it by making sure that Jamaicans get their fair share. And Mr. Speaker, this is not just about money, it is about sustainability. We cannot keep selling Jamaica piece by piece to foreign investors while ignoring the long-term damage to our people and the environment. Community tourism protects our culture, our lands, our way of life, and it ensures that future generations don't just read about authentic Jamaica in history books, they experience it as firsthand. Mr. Speaker, Jamaica is a global powerhouse. We don't need to sit at the table begging for scraps when we are the main course. This is about balance,
I think the time is up.
And fairness.
Thank you. We will now move over to Munro College. Please pay attention to your times, gentlemen. Go ahead, Munro College.
My government, we are arguing, reallocate. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges, worthy opponents, and respected audience, I stand before you today as leader of opposition, wholeheartedly disagreeing with the motion. This House believes that the government should reallocate monetary support to develop community tourism in order to drive growth within the tourism sector. Please allow me to provide an outline for our stance on the motion. I will be addressing the status quo. My second speaker will be focusing on the lack of scalability in community tourism, with my third speaker concretizing our stance. Before I explain why this motion is fundamentally misguided, allow me to define a few key terms. The Oxford Dictionary of Economics defines reallocate as a redistribution of financial resources from one sector to another, often at the expense of established priorities. In this context, it means stripping funds from Jamaica's proven high-yield tourism infrastructure to gamble on untested community initiatives. Monetary support, as defined by the World Bank, refers to government expenditures directed toward sectors critical to national stability and growth. Jamaica's current tourism investments are precisely that: strategic, targeted, and irreplaceable. At first glance, community tourism appears to offer cultural enrichment and local empowerment. However, if we look closely, we see that this proposal is not merely a budgetary shift. It is a dangerous gamble that will strip critical resources from a proven economic engine that fuels our economy, employ thousands, and safeguards our global reputation, and redirect them to a niche area that, even with extra support, simply cannot drive national growth. Today, the opposition will leave no doubt in why we must reject this proposal without compromise. Mr. Speaker, before we can even disprove such an irrational motion, we must first look at the status quo. Our current tourism sector is not only the jewel of Jamaica's economy, it is its backbone. According to the Ministry of Tourism, tourism generated approximately 4.3 billion USD in revenue in 2024, accounting for 30% of GDP and supporting 350,000 jobs. Mr. Speaker, I bring up the adage which says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This success is no accident. Investments in world-class resorts, airports, and security protocols have made Jamaica a brand synonymous with luxury and reliability. As Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett emphasized in a JIS article saying, our recent tourism data is a testament to our strategic investments and the resilience of our national tourism infrastructure. Yet the motion asks us to abandon this proven formula. Michael Brown, CEO of Montego-based Sunset Palms Resort, warns if we reallocate funds away from our flagship resorts, we risk losing the competitive edge that creates thousands of jobs and generates billions in revenue. Does the proposition truly believe that this man 4.3 billion USD industry to fund unproven village stores and craft markets is rational? Or will they dismiss the livelihoods of 350,000 Jamaicans as collateral damage? Mr. Speaker, even if community tourism held promise, now is not the time for experimentation. Our country is plagued by poverty, crime and violence, unemployment, deteriorating healthcare, education, and brain drain, resulting in a declined standard of living and quality of life. Jamaica's public debt remains high. Our infrastructure, roads, utilities, and urban services still needs upgrading. All these underfunded sectors raises the question, if we do not have the funds to allocate to these sectors, where will the misguided government take the monetary support from? Will it be from the PAD program that gives 400,000 impoverished children the chance for better education? Will it be from the public assistance program that supports the elderly and disabled groups? Or is it the tourism sector itself, starving the goats that lays our golden eggs? A World Bank Statin Joint Studies confirms that for every dollar invested in flagship resorts generates $2.80 in auxiliary sectors, such as agriculture, transportation, and retail. Slashing tourism funding would cascade into fewer contracts for local farmers supplying hotels, reduced demand from taxi drivers and tour guides, and a collapse of small businesses reliant on resort guests. Will the proposition admit that their motion risks deepening poverty, or will they cling to the idealism while Jamaicans' roads crumble and hospitals overflow? If this government is serious about sustainable development, they must acknowledge that this proposed motion will lower the standard of living for all of our citizens. Why should we gamble with Jamaica's future, overhauling the status quo without clear evidence of success? We, the opposition, stand firmly against this motion. Community tourism is not a solution, but a distraction, replacing stability for chaos. certainty for uncertainty. While it helps preserve cultural heritage, yes, but it will never be a substitute for the comprehensive, high-yield investments that drive our national prosperity. Jamaica cannot afford to gamble on niche tourism while our people demand jobs, security, and healthcare. These issues must be addressed prior before community tourism can complement, not sabotage our tourism crown jewels. To the proposition, show us a single nation where community tourism alone has lifted a country from debt and violence. You cannot, because it does not exist. Let us strengthen the engine that drives us forward, not dismantle it for parts. The opposition pauses.
Firing remarks by both team, and we were indeed correct that this would be a match to be watched. We will now move over to Ardenne High. Ardenne, please get ready with your second speaker.
All right. Good day, esteemed judges, my treasured allies, my misguided opposition, and other guests. Now to reiterate the motion, this House believes that the government should reallocate monetary support to develop community tourism in order to drive growth within the tourism sector. Now, I believe it is important for me to reiterate what my first speaker had said. Reallocation simply means to distribute in a new way, but with the way that the opposition is trying to posit it, it makes it seem as if we shall be sacrificing other sectors. But nothing I can leave to stand, because that is simply ridiculous. Now, to continue, this House believes that the government should reallocate monetary support to develop community tourism in order to drive growth within the tourism sector. As it is well known that tourism is the biggest sector in our GDP, with my first speaker saying that the World Bank has it at 30% of the GDP. Now, mainstream tourism, whilst they may try to say that it is simply everything, it has benefits, and of this we can agree. But what they cannot see is that there are several challenges that we incur from mainstream tourism that they want to ignore. But, Mr. Speaker, the opposition may want to only look at these benefits, but they cannot, for their challenges as well. And we cannot have their cake, or they cannot have their cake and eat it too. Hence, as the second speaker, I shall be outlining these challenges, particularly things like economic leakages, and discussing how a shift in allocation to community-based tourism shall mitigate these impacts whilst driving growth and preserving our culture. Now, but before I begin, there are a few things I believe that the opposition had said that I would like to address. The first is the limited definition. The opposition is trying to posit community-based tourism as simply being some craft villages somewhere in Trelawney or any other minute thing that cannot contribute to tourism. But we have not put community-based tourism as that. Community-based tourism is a tourism that includes all of Jamaica. We can look at even the Bob Marley movie that had come out, that has recently won an Oscar and has brought many tourists to Jamaica. We can look at Carnival that keeps year-round, and it brings many people to Jamaica. We can even look at Treasure Beach that has many resorts that bring people to the island where they can stay, somewhere that the opposition should so very well, as Jack's Hotel is right in Treasure Beach, and that is one of the biggest hotels that we can think of for community-based tourism, and it is indeed scalable. Now, I would also address poverty, but I shall go into that later in my speech under job creation. So now, under the first thing of leakages to linkages, the first challenge from mainstream tourism I should speak about is economic leakages. This is a term that refers to money leaving the country rather than staying within the local economy. Under the current system of mainstream tourism primarily, much of the revenue that we generate from mainstream tourism leaves the nation. The Honorable Edmund Bartlett, or Minister of Tourism, reflected on this very problem in a sectoral debate in 2018, where he indicated that leakage remains a major obstacle to sustainable growth in Jamaica. It results from unwanted leaving of money as a result of taxes, wages, and profits paid outside of the country, as well as imports, and prevents money from flowing back into the local economy and benefiting more ordinary Jamaicans. Now, try as the opposition might to ignore this, the numbers also support this phenomenon, as even though he had mentioned that $4.37 billion in USD, I believe, comes to Jamaica, what he also failed to mention is that it was indicated by our minister that only 40% of the money that we generate from tourism stays in this country. This situation is for us as a proposition utterly unacceptable. And Minister Bartlett also knows that these leakages are unacceptable, indicating that this is an unacceptable situation if we are serious about expanding the benefits of the sector to more ordinary Jamaicans. This issue, thankfully though, Mr. Speaker, can be mitigated with greater allocation to community-based tourism. The first reason for this can be seen in the amount of imports, as it was indicated in a study on tourism that it was stated that over $70 billion was spent on imported furniture and fixtures for hotels. Can you believe? The allocation to community-based tourism would help to mitigate this. This is because with community-based tourism, the places tourists will visit shall be supplied domestically and hence have little need for imports, hence leading to reduced importation.
Yes.
This would help to slash what is a great strain on our balance of trade due to the imports that we are incurring. This is further evident as causing it was indicated if we could develop supply locally, we could increase our retention rate even 60%, which I must mention is the world leading rate at this time, whilst also bolstering sectors like manufacturing within our local economy, thus helping to provide greater jobs to Jamaicans, which I shall go further and down later in the speech. This retention would bolster the economy and the tourism sector, purely as greater retained revenue means the economy shall have greater resources, even for the government and for the private man, to be able to greater invest into this nation and to develop those communities who need a means to sustain themselves, thus to increase the amount of tourists that we can handle year-round. This sector,
the Caribbean Policy Research Institute found that most community tourism businesses are owned by wealthier individuals, not local residents. If profits are staying in the community, how is this model truly benefiting rural Jamaicans?
Because, okay, I will actually use the example of Trisha Beach here. We can look at Jack's Hotel, for example. After Hurricane Beryl, it was actually noted that Jack's Hotel, in its recovery efforts, it was not just the owners of Jack's Hotel who had around it, it was also the employees. You had bartenders learning how to distinguish between wood. You had servers clearing off debris. Everybody was rallying around this hotel to restore it. And why is that? That is because they know it is their way of life. You people have mentioned that with mainstream tourism, if we are to divert from it, then jobs shall be lost. But what I turn to you is that if we look at mainstream tourism, it is owned by international conglomerates. At least with those who are wealthy, there is both greater distribution and taxable revenue for the government. But with mainstream tourism, all of this money is leaving to go abroad. This example also demonstrates linkage as well, as it is a community enabled by its residents, including fishermen, business owners, and etc. You see, my opponent, community tourism is so much more than just another form of tourism. It provides holistic development in multiple sectors within our economy, whilst diversifying Jamaica's tourist offerings. The creation of jobs is another fundamental way in which greater allocation to community-based tourism will help grow our economy and tourism sector. Now, under the current state of affairs, the tourism that we see most only provides employment in high-profile resort areas, such as Montego Bay or Negril, and only provides a sort of temporary employment to our citizens that also tells higher and fire, depending on the season. The opposition may try to posit that this does not affect the growth of our sector, but this is misguided, as mainstream tourism in its current state, there is a concentration of jobs in these particular areas, which leads to limited labor to meet this job demand. Now, Mr. Speaker, the opposition may only want to look at the benefits of mainstream tourism, but this job creation is limited to those areas, and they're ignoring the challenges that face from us concentrating our tourism in one of these areas. And again, I must say, they can't have their cake and eat it too. And to the question of importing labor from parishes, there is also an area constraint that we must bear in mind. As already there are strikes as recent as December 2024, which the opposition should be aware of due to a lack of facilities for employees within resorts. Hence, importing labor would both not solve this issue, but further exacerbate it. Now, if this is not addressed, then the nation shall hit a capacity of growth where we cannot handle more tourists coming to the nation. Community-based tourism, whilst ensuring job creation for all citizens, ensures that we can also have self-sufficient communities capable of receiving tourists, ensuring the sector shall continue to grow smoothly. This community-based tourism would not only help to create permanent employment, but spread the share of tourism just from those select areas to island-wide, ensuring the ability for our sector to flourish and benefiting the rest of Jamaica as it does so. Examples of this can be found in the Kingston Creative Project within Jamaica, as it's already giving artists and creatives opportunity to earn a living for themselves, whilst also propagating the tourism within Jamaica. Job creation will also help in reducing the unemployment rate of the nation, as those areas where the people feel neglected shall be rejuvenated and they will be given an avenue to make a living. With the allocation of governmental resources, this would be more than possible. And Mr. Speaker, I must say, precedents already exist in this domain. In the 2023-2024 sectoral debates, our Minister of Tourism noted that initiatives have been going on to help tourism become a more inclusive sector. There have been allocations being made towards small and medium tourism-sized tourism enterprises. This would simply have to include community-based tourism models and businesses that support it as so. Hence, community-based tourism will help to create long-lasting jobs that are not limited by a geographical area, but instead gives opportunity to all Jamaicans to make a living if they choose this avenue. For as William Shakespeare once said, to persist in doing wrong extenuates not the wrong, but makes it much more heavy. But Mr. Speaker, we as Side Proposition come to make the burden of the Jamaican people easy and to make their yoke light. Now, on this point of cultural retention and cultural impact, it was mentioned by side opposition that cultural retention would not come from community-based tourism, but this is something that we firmly disagree on. For the retention of our culture, for the point
Your
of the
time is
retention,
up. Time, Ardenne.
all right, the proposition momentarily pressed.
All right, so gentlemen, please pay attention to your times. Your speech should be done to your time, and we're asking you please to pay attention to it. Munro, please go ahead.
I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Saying that we should reallocate monetary support to community tourism, despite the already flourishing tourism sector we have, is not just illogical, but downright ludicrous. On to the first rebuttal. Please be reminded that with the large tax that is on large corporate entities, small or locals would not or could not manage that level of tax while maintaining their businesses simultaneously. The community tourism businesses would collapse. I ensure that I would not like to see the outcome of this dilemma. Honorable adjudicators, esteemed audience, and my most fallacious opponents, good day. I stand here to discuss the proposed reallocation of government funding toward community tourism to drive growth in our tourism sector. While community tourism has undeniable value, we must carefully consider its practicality, economic viability, and long-term sustainability before shifting resources. Community tourism offers an intimate and cultural immersive experiences, yes. However, its ability to sustain and scale to the national level is a major concern. Unlike large tourism hubs that accommodate millions of visitors, community-based initiatives face seasonal fluctuations, limited infrastructure, and consistent service quality. In 2024, Jamaica's tourism industry generated 4.3 billion from 4.3 million visitors, the majority of which came from large, well-established resorts and attractions. According to the Caribbean Tourism Organization, over 80% of international tourists prefer destinations with modern amenities, easy accessibility, and high service standards. Community tourism, while valuable, struggles to meet these demands on a larger scale. Something that the Deputy Prime Minister would have said, that reallocating resources is not the problem. Successful tourism models rely on reliability and accessibility. Large-scale hubs have built reputation over decades, offering the consistency and quality that keep visitors coming back. In contrast to community tourism, relies heavily on niche markets and localized attractions, which may lack the capacity to provide the economic stability necessary for long-term growth. Why not form alliances with local community private sector services to further develop community tourism? Listen to the concerns of the people in the current tourism sector to upgrade the sector in terms of pay wage for workers. No, you chose to take the illogical route. International tourists tend to prefer established destinations that offer familiarity, convenience, and luxury. While community tourism presents a unique alternative, the demand for such experiences remains secondary to the high-end amenities of resort areas. Jamaica has built a strong reputation in global tourism industry. According to the Jamaica Tourist Board, more than 75% of visitors are repeat tourists, influenced by international marketing campaigns promoting places like Montego Bay, Outer Rios, and Negril. These locations offer world-class accommodations and entertainment, fulfilling the expectations of most visitors. Neighboring countries like the Dominican Republic and the Bahamas are investing heavily in their mainstream tourism infrastructure. If Jamaica redirects funds towards small-scale initiatives without a clear strategy, it risks losing its competitive edge. The tourism market is fiercely competitive, and failure to maintain our global presence could damage our tourism brand. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, strengthening community tourism has merit, but the question remains, is it the most effective way to drive growth within our tourism sector? Rather than redirecting resources outright, a more balanced approach should be adopted, one that ensures existing tourism investments continue to thrive while exploring sustainable ways to support community-based initiatives. Any decision on community tourism funding must be grounded in practicality, economic foresight, and a clear understanding of its long-term impact. The opposition now momentarily pauses.
Thank you so much. We will now move over to Ardenne High for their third speaker.
Esteemed adjudicators, my misguided opponents, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning. I stand here to further the proposition's case and continue to dissect the opposition's ludicrous stance. Mr. Speaker, if we fail to reallocate money to community tourism, foreign direct investors will continue to exploit our workforce and our natural resources. A lack of government regulation, controls, and negotiation on how these foreign direct investors, FDIs, are set up can lead to some investments not amounting to a long-term commitment to the country. Some transnational corporations, particularly food and hotel chains, may increase temperature medium term, but do little or nothing to promote sustainable development. And that is why the argument being purported by the opposition is ludicrous. What type of employment? Seasonal employment is not sustainable. Seasonal employment does not contribute to the well-being of those over 1,000 people that they suggested. Because if the opposition were to do their research, out of the majority of those people, most of them have seasonal employment to fill the gaps in a decline in the summer season and in the Christmas tourism season. And to the point that the second speaker mentioned about the tax rate, I am almost sure that in doing adequate research for this debate, we would have came to find out that there's an income-based tax rate, which is the amount of income which determines the rate of taxes you pay, and there is a minimum threshold. And as suggested by my second speaker, there's already precedent as suggested in the Royal model for the Jake's Hotel in Treasure Beach, where they're able to survive. They're not going to have the same rate of taxes as these transnational corporations. So the argument being purported by the second speaker of the opposition is simply senseless. Mr. Speaker,
point of information.
Declined. What the opposition has clothed as their saving base and savior is nothing but a wolf in sheep's clothing. Mainstream tourism express the efforts of Jamaican people whilst carrying a significant portion of the profits overseas to benefit these conglomerates. Mr. Speaker, sustainable development is crucial for the continued development of the tourism industry and the continued development of Jamaica. Community and heritage-based tourism would create more job opportunities for Jamaicans while generating more foreign exchange. With the recent Oscar-winning Bob Marley Wonder movie, we have seen that community tourism goes far beyond mere huts, villas. It encapsulates the far-reaching impacts of national icons and channels that impact in such a way that can directly benefit their communities and Jamaica at large. And if we want Jamaica to become the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business, we cannot facilitate the myopic view that the side opposition has purported. Development from community tourism would positively impact the production sector as one, it would generate employment for local citizens. Yes, we are as side proposition and are oblivious to the fact that mainstream tourism is one of the main drivers of employment. However, with the money being purported by us as side government, employers will experience a greater benefit for their labor, which would increase their standard of living and thus improve their quality of life. Furthermore, as stated by my second speaker, community tourism initiatives like the development of rural heritage sites or ecotourism ventures not only creates jobs, but it would also reduce the need for excessive external borrowing to finance large-scale foreign-run tourism infrastructure projects, thus empowering local populations and allowing them to take ownership of their own economic destiny as opposed to depending on foreign investors. Two, reducing dependency on imports. As mentioned by my second speaker, we spend over 70 billion in importing furniture and fixtures to maintain demand of mainstream tourism. Mr. Speaker, 70 billion is a ridiculous figure.
Point of information.
Three, decline, the distributive sector will develop. We will see a greater development of the agricultural industry and the manufacturing sector, as mentioned by my first speaker. With that, the proposition momentarily rests.
Thank you very much. Can we have a round of applause, please? I think both schools did very well. They will now prepare their rebuttals. Gentlemen, I'm asking you to pay attention to your time. Go
Do
ahead.
you have the third speaker of Munro?
Didn't we do the third speaker? No? My apologies.
No, that was the second speaker.
That was the second speaker. I'm so sorry. Go ahead with your third speaker.
All protocols observed. A pleasant morning, everyone. The proposition suggests reallocating government funds to develop community tourism. While this may sound appealing, it's a gamble Jamaica cannot afford. Our tourism industry is the lifeblood of our economy, supporting over 350 Jamaicans. Hard-working people like my cousin, a single mother who depends on her job at a Montego Bay resort to support her children. This sector also contributes to nearly a third of our GDP, according to World Travel and Tourism Council. Diverting funds from this proven sector to an unproven community tourism model is not just risky, it's a betrayal of the thousands of families who rely on this industry. Let's be clear, community tourism requires a massive investment, infrastructure, and to succeed. Take Thailand, for example. It took decades of strategic planning, government support, and international marketing to build the community tourism sector. Even with all that, Thailand's mainstream tourism still drives the majority of its revenue. Jamaica doesn't have the luxury of time nor the resources to gamble on such an experiment. Why risk what's already working for something that might never deliver? Mr. Speaker, tourists want resorts, not experiments. The World and Travel Tourism Council confirmed that international visitors prefer resort-based stays for their safety and reliability. Over 80% of Caribbean tourists choose established attractions with modern amenities. Community tourism simply cannot compete. If we shift focus now, we risk losing the competitive edge that has made Jamaica a top destination in the region. And let's not forget, Jamaica is still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica 2023 reports that 19% of our population lives in poverty. Our healthcare system is overwhelmed. Our schools are underfunded. How can we justify diverting critical resources to a speculative project when our people are struggling? The proposition claims community tourism will empower local businesses, but without infrastructure, investment, and international marketing, it's wishful thinking. Meanwhile, 75% of our visitors are repeat tourists who come for our world-class resorts. If we change what's working, we risk losing them all and the billions of dollars they bring. Jamaica is already integrating small-scale community tourism initiatives, ecotourism, and cultural experiences without diverting core resources. This is a balanced approach which allows us to explore new opportunities without jeopardizing economic stability. This motion before us, however, threatens to undo this progress. Ladies and gentlemen, this motion is dangerous. We cannot gamble our economy, our people, nor our future on an unproven experiment. Let's build on our strengths, not tear them down. Let's invest in what works, not gamble on what might. For the sake of our economy, our family, and our future, we urge the House to reject this motion. Thank you.
I see some future prime ministers here. We will now pause, gentlemen. You are doing very, very well. Coaches, congratulations. I think this was a fair, this is probably one of the strongest competitions I've seen. And we will now pause. You will prepare your rebuttals. And remember, time, right? Please pay attention to your time. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Thank you. We have about a minute. Okay, let's go. Welcome back to those joining us online. We're having audio issues here. Just a reminder of our motion. Are you hearing me, everyone?
Yes.
Have to hurry up and get back in the studio. We can't manage all this Zoom thing. This House believes that the government should reallocate monetary support to develop community tourism in order to drive growth within the tourism sector. We have Ardenne High, who's proposing the motion, and Munro College, who's opposing the motion. As you're aware, the rebuttal section, we will begin with the opposing team. Munro College, please go ahead. Munro, you may begin.
All protocols observed. As the opposition rebuttal, I stand before you today to summarize the key points of today's debate and explain why, without a shadow of a doubt, that we have won this debate. As the first speaker, I lay the foundation of our case by highlighting the economic importance of Jamaica's established tourism sector. And as I have aptly put it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Our second speaker built on this foundation by dismantling the proposition claims about the scalability and consistency of community tourism, where he showed that international tourists overwhelmingly prefer well-established attractions like Montego Bay and Ocho Rios, which offer the safety, convenience, and reliability that community tourism often lacks. Finally, our third speaker reinforced our case by addressing the broader economic and social issues that must be prioritized over niche tourism initiatives. Now, let me address while my opponents paint a picturesque analogy, where is the hard evidence? Tourism isn't built on metaphors, but on data, policies, and tangible impacts. If metaphors could drive the tourism industry, we'd all be billionaires just by speaking. My opponents may offer catchy phrase, but let's ensure our arguments remain grounded in facts. Instead of saying that we are telling lies, please provide the truths. The misguided government has failed to outline where the resources will be reallocated from. The second speaker said that the Treasure Beach recovered quicker from COVID-19 pandemic. However, the evidence says otherwise. In the multiple POIs rejected, the World Travel and Tourism Council 2023 reports that mass tourism destinations, example, resorts, recovered faster than niche markets, such as community tourism, from the COVID-19 pandemic. If a global recession hits, won't Jamaica be safer with all-inclusives? Mr. Speaker, all-inclusive tourism isn't stopping diversification. Jamaica already has ecotourism, boutique hotels, and adventure tourism. If diversification is truly the goal, why destroy a proven revenue stream? We have also mentioned that taxes on community tourism would exacerbate the financial revenues, something that large corporates can do, and you guys are yet to acknowledge this critical aspect of tourism, which is used to ascertain revenues in order to drive growth within our tourism sector. In conclusion, the proposition case is built on idealistic assumptions and unrealistic expectations, while our case is grounded by hard evidence and practical solutions. We have shown that reallocating funds to community tourism would jeopardize our established tourism sector, exacerbate broader economic and social issues, and risk our nation's future. Instead, we propose incremental investments and public-private partnerships to develop community tourism without undermining our economic stability. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a debate about tourism. It is a debate about Jamaica's future. Let us build on our strengths, not dismantle them. For these reasons, for these clear, undeniable reasons, we urge you to reject the motion and safeguard the proven foundations of our tourism sector. Thank you.
Ardenne, you may go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, we are not neglecting the importance of mainstream tourism, but we are highlighting the harms of it and how community tourism would be able to alleviate these harms. Mr. Speaker, the opposition says that they are arguing reallocate, but let us be clear. Allocating this debate means strategically redistributing a portion of government funding and resources. We are not removing, we are not cutting, we are not eliminating, but we are adjusting the financial focus to ensure a more equitable distribution. And for them to suggest that we would cut or remove from anything is highly ludicrous. They also made mention of the fact that we have not said where we would allocate from. However, provisions have already been made by the Minister of Tourism, Minister Edmund Bartlett, to support small and medium-sized tourism enterprises, SMTEs, in the 2023 to 2024 sectoral debate, as suggested by my second speaker. Mr. Speaker, the opposition also spoke about the context of community tourism, but let us be clear. Community tourism, as said by myself, refers to a sustainable tourism model in which local communities are active participants in ownership, management, and benefit sharing within the sector. Mr. Speaker, the opposition also spoke about large tax and enterprises. But let us be clear, they failed to mention that taxes scale based on income, and they failed to mention that large enterprises pay the majority of their taxes to foreign countries, as posited by our second speaker. There is also a proven record of community-based tourism entities being able to handle these taxes, evidenced in Jake's Hotel, as posited by my second speaker. We must remind the opposition that taxation is not general, it is proportional to the size of the enterprise. We, the side proposition, believe firmly that we have won this debate because we believe that the model that they're purporting fails to highlight the harms of mainstream tourism, such as economic leakages. Furthermore, the opposition is opposed to community tourism, but has failed to identify strategies that will create economic linkages to ensure that the money is made from tourism in Jamaica benefits Jamaica in a way that will lead to growth within the tourism sector. If we do a cost and benefit analysis, the government has won this debate, as we are not only maintaining mainstream tourism, but adding an alternative means of capital through community tourism, which will drive economic growth. There is also the additional fact of side opposition putting it that community-based tourism as a gamble, while ignoring the proven record with places like Jake's Hotel and the revenue Carnival brings. They have also failed to recognize Bob Marley's heritage as a form of community tourism. Mr. Speaker, I will have to then again diagnose this opposition with COVID, chronic opposition to viable and inclusive development. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I think our judges will have a very difficult task. We will now call, I think, Malik, Safari, and Gabby, are you guys ready? I know you had some pointers. All right, so we will take a break. Give us about 5 minutes and then we will return with the judges' score. Now my turn to give a little trouble, gentlemen. What is this I'm hearing about only Kingston schools winning championship? Is that true? Do you feel that way? It was in the media.
Oh, you're speaking about this with Cornwall and JC.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And I
Interesting.
just want to put it out there that our champions have mostly been from Mandeville. We haven't had a Kingston champion, so we are not seeing that. But this year it may be different, right?
Possibly.
Yes, it may be different. So we welcome any Kingston championship. We want you all to know that. But most of our winners, Knox was last year. I think Belair College was the year before.
Has the women's girls won 1 year?
Munro College came second one, but it has been mainly Mandeville.
Excuse me, Miss Tolo.
Yes.
Didn't women's girls win 1 year?
Hold on, I'm not hearing.
Like, has women's girls won before?
Can you repeat that?
We're asking if women's girls won before, because once I believe there was a finals between them and St. George's in 2022 or 2021, sometime there.
We have had all boys, you know. We have had all boys school. It has been Belair. I think the very first year was Munro, very, very years and years ago. But we have not had Wolmer's and we have not had Ardenne. This is the second year Ardenne is returning. Munro, they have been extremely supportive of the competition. But I am not one to support this country school and Kingston school. I am not supporting that at any time. You understand me? No country, no Kingston. It's just education. And I think you guys did extremely well. You both did well. And I think the judges will have a difficult task. But please continue to pursue what it is you're doing. We need a lot more critical thinkers. And what I've realized with both schools from my observations, it was not a chat GBT. You understood the conversation and you took the assignment seriously. Congrats to you both. I'm not closing off because we still don't know who the winners are, but congrats, right? Ardenne, the producer is asking for the red flag for a picture moment, please. That's okay. Look at them. Thank you so much. I like the spirit that both schools came with this morning from Monday morning. It was really exciting and riveting. Thank you. The judges are now ready. I will invite them on in a few. I believe Attorney at Law Malik Kelly will be presenting.
All right, should we begin? All right, so
Who are we beginning with first? Tafari? You have
yes,
points? All right, so we
Yeah,
will
I'll-
take Tafari Hilton points and then we will close off with Malik Talia. Gave, do you have points as well?
No, the other judges will share on my behalf.
I will give the
All right, so let us
this.
begin with Tafari.
Right, all right. Thank you so much. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. That was a very interesting debate. I think the most spirited one of the competition so far from both of the sides. Trust me, I'll only get whole heap of points for style and voice. Yeah. Lots of passion from both sides of the That's a passion from both sides of it. Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. Once again, we see where there is a lack of engagement with the points made, and that is primarily done through the points of information. Both teams blatantly either ignored that a POI was being asked or just flat out rejected. I will say both teams did answer at least one POI, I think. So at least that, but guys, please remember your POIs, they're not to demean you, it's not to weaken you, it's to show that you know how to think quick on your feet and respond, right? So you guys, both teams were affected for that. The points, Ardenne, you guys, good job on redefining emotion, kind of laying out a roadmap of how you see this plan or the project being implemented. I think you guys could have used a lot more data for the community tourism aspects of how the successes of it, the difficulties of it, and to kind of further position what Jamaica's implementation of that would further to look like. You guys did mention Jake's, which was a recent event. However, you didn't further really, you didn't illustrate it well enough, right? So that would have put to carry home your point. For Munro, you guys hindered or like hinged rather on mentioning the risk of pivoting from direct tourism to community-based tourism. No, while that is a great point, and we appreciated the importance of, you know, saying that this is our bread and butter, is the backbone, should we really be moving away from it? In all three of your speakers continue to speak the same message, right? Almost as if you're ignoring some of the points given by Ardenne. And this is the importance of when it's your turn to speak, you need to take a notebook and you jot down those little points. And then in your speech now, you address those things, right? To kind of to kind of flourish your own point. And that's what we realized that the third speaker, Ardenne, did in his speech, which I think added to the reason why he went a bit over time. Yeah, and another thing too is data, guys. Need more data. You know, it was very, we love the arguments in saying that, but it doesn't work here. Mano, you mentioned Thailand, right? Saying that it's not working there. Great. Now hammer home that point, right? And not just that, position a way forward, right? Because in the end, you're saying the same thing. Direct tourism is this, is that. We can't move away. Ardenne has already kind of positioned the motion to say it's not a complete moving away of the money. It is strategic, which means it'll be, you know, gone through with a fine tooth comb, taking your time, not completely moving from A to B, but somewhat of a dual type of tourism economy, right? So with you constantly talking about the dangers of it, it's as if you're ignoring what the proposition is saying and not really adding to your own argument. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. We will now move over to Malik Kelly. Attorney at law, Mr. Kelly, you may go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tulloch. Very well played match by both teams. I think, obviously, as judges, we had a very difficult decision today. Nevertheless, is everyone able to hear me? Excellent. Nevertheless, the task is mine to indicate that Ardenne High School has edged in the match, and the best speaker goes to their first speaker from Ardenne High School, Mr. Doman. Congratulations to both teams and very well played to Munro.
May we have the points scores, please?
Sure. One second.
Excuse
Excuse me,
me,
Mr. Kelly, we're not hearing you.
Go again.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted.
Go again, Mr. Kelly.
1 second. Just making sure I double and triple check. Tonight. So the scores are .333 is the average for Ardenne, and 315 is the average for Munro. Are you able to hear? Okay.
Just give him a few minutes. It looks as if there's about a few points in me. Right, I think it's fine. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Oh, I had repeated, you weren't hearing me?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I had indicated that the scores were as follows: 333 for Ardenne and 315 for Munro.
Okay, but we don't do average scores, so you have to multiply by 3. We know Ardenne won, but we still.
Do you want not the average score?
Yeah.
Sure. So an average score would be for Ardenne 1001. You're able to hear that? And 947 for Munro.
Few points difference in the teams, and I knew this would have been a difficult match. It was well played, extremely well played, and the research was very good. As I say, you can see that there was no AI technology involved or chat GBT, all these new technology that we have. This was a motion that was very understood, and they even brought in comparisons to what is happening as recent as the Bob Marley celebration. So congratulations, Ardenne. You will now move forward to the semifinals. And I think this is the first year you'll be moving forward to the semifinals. So congratulations to all our sponsors, the coaches who did very well, and also to our judges. I think our judges had a difficult task. I saw them speaking and I saw the back and forth. So this was not an easy one. As you can see, it's only a few points that has separated both schools. So I will see you for our next match, which is Calabar Boys versus Charlemont High. Congrats to Ardenne High. Well played, Munro College. I am your moderator, Michelle Teller. Until next time. Thank you.